Welcome to The Big Break Show, a podcast where we discuss short-term rentals, entrepreneurship, life, mindset, and everything in between. Here are your hosts, Rafa, Loza, and Jesse Vasquez.
What's up, everybody? Welcome. We're back with another episode of The Big Break Show. We love you all. We're happy you're here. And I am here with the man, Mr. Jesse Vasquez.
What is up, my favorite co-host on the planet Earth, Rafa Loza? How's it going, buddy?
Yay. It's going good, man. It's going good. I'm excited. We've got some episodes coming out again, so it should be fun. We've been crazy busy these last couple of weeks, so.
Yeah, Rafa's got like all these freaking hotels he's buying. He's putting all his stuff together. He doesn't got time for the Big Break Show anymore, you guys. He's too busy for us.
You know how people are going to know you're lying? The last episode I recorded while I was at the hotel, in the hotel room. See?
That's true. So. You're right. But you know what, you guys? Today we're at episode number 57. We have Amelia McGee, who is 31. And dude, I always get really excited about people.
The age of people?
Yeah, because she's got 36 stores, you guys, and is 31 and did this in literally 2 years.
Crazy. For
those of you that are I'm trying to figure stuff out, go find somebody that's doing it. Amelia's doing this, and she's been able to grow really freaking fast in 2 years and build this really, really awesome book of business, not only long-term, but she's also doing short-term and mid-term rentals. So man, it's just cool to see people that are, making things happen in such a quick time.
Yeah. Yep. I was really impressed by it. I mean, dude, 36 stores. I don't remember. 36 stores, right? Yeah.
36, yeah.
I'm confusing her age with the doors now. Yeah, 36 stores. And she told us, and I was like, wow, man. And she's got this entire network now for women who want to invest in real estate, and she's helping other women get started in real estate. That's impressive. So I really like that about people who like to share their knowledge and their wealth and everything that they do around the people around them. So I'm really excited for everybody to get into this episode. It was a very casual, really good conversation about things that we enjoyed talking about, like every other episode. But I specifically like this one because she's just really down to earth and she just keeps it real. There's no BS or fluff in there. So I'm cool. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, and Amelia has a lot of traits that you do, Rafa, and you guys will hear them in the episode. How Amelia and Rafa have very similar traits in a lot of ways.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, this is definitely a good episode.
Yeah, without holding y'all longer on our little intros here, hopefully you guys enjoy it. And again, please keep sharing the podcast, right? We want this to reach a lot of people, and we appreciate all the comments you guys are getting. I get a ton of comments saying that you guys love the episode, that you guys love the information we put out. And it means a lot because we do this to help you guys. We like to have good conversations, but we do it more so that other people can learn and pick stuff up from it, right? I even got family members telling me that they're listening and watching them all now because I guess we really do provide good info, and that really does mean a lot. It's not some BS podcast with fluff and nonsense out there. So thank you all. Keep the comments coming. If there's something you don't like, please let us know. If there's something you love, please let us know. And if you want to be on the show or somebody who's good that wants to be on the show that we can bring on to talk about anything related to our show, short-term rentals, mid-term rentals, mindset, life, real estate, and just entrepreneurship in general, let us know. So love you all. Enjoy the show. Hey guys, Rafa here. A lot of you guys have been asking me if I have a course, if I teach, if I mentor my short-term rental business. And the answer is I do, actually. I just recently released my very first course. It has about 120 videos. If you're part of the monthly membership, we are adding 2 new videos a month in current issues or projects that I'm working on within the short-term rental business. And we do 1 monthly call live where you have access to me to ask me all the questions you want. So if you're interested in joining the course or if you want any more info, click the link below. It is application only. We only open it to a certain amount of students every month because we want people who are serious, who really want to be a part of this, who actually want to take their short-term rental business and grow it, or are starting from scratch and want to learn how to actually acquire properties doing rental arbitrage. If that's you, if you're serious and you really want to do this, click the link below, schedule a call with me or my team, and we'll get you going. Now back to the show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Big Break. We have Amelia McGee, who I'm excited to actually have on the show today. Amelia, what is up? Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know that you're out in the woods in the middle of nowhere right now, and Rafa's actually the one having internet problems, and you are not. So, Rafa, man, what's going on here?
Right.
Amelia, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, for sure. So like Jesse said, I'm in the middle of nowhere in Iowa. My name's Amelia McGee. I'm a full-time real estate investor, and thank you guys for having me on the show. I'm really excited to be here. Like Jesse, I love midterm rentals, so I think we'll touch on that a little bit, but I also have a huge long-term rental portfolio. And by huge, I mean I own 36 stores at this point, so it's fairly small in comparison to a lot of investors, but I feel like it's huge because I started investing late 2020 2020 and have grown pretty rapidly since then.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's pretty large for sure.
Yeah, I mean, 36 doors in 2.5 years, 3 years. Is that 2 years? I'm like, I can't even, like 2020 and 2022. Like my brain is like, I don't even remember that. Does that even count as years, you guys? I mean, come on.
I know what even happened during that time. Yeah, it was about 2 years. I haven't bought anything for probably the last like 5 or 6 months. So I would say that all happened within about 2 years.
You know what? I'm going to kind of bring something up right now because I was sitting here pondering this. I was actually going to make a YouTube video on this. 2020 to 2022 were like the most pivotal years of my entire life. And I think it was actually pivotal years for a lot of people. Did COVID kind of change did you leave a W-2 job? Let's get into that. Like where are you from, Amelia? What give us your origin story.
Yeah, so I was working as a project manager when I started investing in real estate, but I've always been someone that's known that I wanted to work for myself. I just didn't know like with what. And so once real estate investing came along, I was like, "Oh, this is my big break. Like this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life." And so I was doing real estate and working a full-time job for about 6 months at the same time. And once I hit the point where my rental income after all expenses was enough to cover my living expenses, I was like, I'm going to quit my full-time job. I'm going to go full-time into real estate investing because I'll be able to focus so much more time and energy on it that I'll be able to make even more money. But I also had a good like savings account. I had an emergency fund. Like, don't just go and quit your job without any sort of like financial backing. I'm very like financially aware and savvy. So like I had that behind me as well.
Yeah, you know what I did? I quit my job without realizing that you need a W-2 to buy real estate. Remember, Rafa? I was like, dude, I quit my job. And then Rafa's like, dude, you need a W-2 to buy stuff. And I'm like, holy crap. Yeah, I should have thought about that. And I didn't. So did you quit your job in 2020?
No, June of 2021 is when I quit my job. I think I had 15 doors at that point, but I had a couple partnerships that were in the works and they had W-2 jobs that were going to work to qualify us for those lending opportunities. But also the lenders that I work with are all commercial lenders and I've built a relationship with them. So they don't even look at my like W-2 income anymore.
I love that. That's really cool. Hey, I have a question for you, Amelia. When you say your long-term renters, are they what you're using to supplement your income now to live off of when you quit your job?
Yeah, so there's a combination. At this point, I have multiple streams of income, but at that point, it really was like those long-term tenants. Just the cash flow from those I was using to support myself. I also do flips from time to time, so I'll use that money to either, live off of or reinvest. And then I just have other side gigs, one-on-one coaching. I have the WIIRE community, which I make money off of. So yeah, there's multiple things going on.
I love that. That's cool. Okay.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that you don't need to be like super rich to be able to quit your full-time job. Like you just have to be good at managing money and realize that 40 hours a week that your full-time job is taking up could be put towards something else if you're able to focus on that full-time instead.
I love that you said that too, because a lot of the times when people think, oh, I need to quit my job, they think that they need to make like 5, 10x their current income now in order for them to have that security. But I'm like, dude, the security of your job could let you go at any moment anyway, and you don't have 5, 10x that's paying you there at this specific moment, right? If you can find something that can supplement that income enough for you to survive to the point where you can have the freedom now and work less hours per week, I mean, right? Like all day long, why not go for it and actually give your dream a shot to be able to go out and do those things?
Mm-hmm. I work half as much now as I did when I had a full-time job. I have lots and lots of hobbies. I love to play sports. I love to go out with friends and travel. So I have so much more time for those things now. To me, even if I took a little bit of a pay cut from my W-2, like that is so worth it to me to have all this time freedom to do whatever I want with.
Yeah, the crazy thing, I always say this, like a taste of freedom can make anybody unemployable. Like what I mean by that is like if somebody has a side hustle and all of a sudden they're like, they make this X amount of money and they're like, holy crap, I can literally do this. And that freedom can make somebody literally unemployable. Once they get that taste of that, it's almost like I can leave what I was doing before. And there's nothing wrong with W-2 jobs. I think a lot of times people are like, oh, I want to leave my W-2. Like I'm in the opposite spot of you, Amelia, where I actually left my W-2 job and I'm working way more than I've ever worked in my entire life. Like hands down, I'm not going to lie about that. Like I am working so much. And I think I kind of did this to myself in a way. I guess it's part of what happens. But I think if you're very intuitive. Like Rafa works like very minimal. He travels just like you, does all kinds of stuff. But me, on the other hand, I'm like working all the time. I don't even know what I'm doing right now, guys. Working so much. Rafa, I need to take a chapter from your book, man.
It's funny because I'm always telling Jesse the same thing. Like, dude, you got to build out the team. So, like, dude, Jesse is always calling me saying, bro, I have so much going on. I don't know what to do. I'm like, dude, take a step back. Like, relax. Do this, handle this a different way, or like get somebody involved, right? Get people in place. Like, I have this business, right? And yeah, it's I work on it 3 hours a week or 4 hours a week, give or take, maybe a little bit more, a little less here and there. But I have the freedom to come and go and do whatever I want. Now, it costs me money, of course, right? Everybody needs to understand that. There's that trade for time for money. I can be making probably 4 times more than what I'm making now, but I'd be doing all the work myself and probably working 80, 90 hours a week, right? With Jesse right now, like he's crushing it. His business is blown up, like significant. I've seen it, right? I've seen it from the moment that he started, because we started talking when he was first getting into this. And now that he's got all this stuff going on, like he's the guy with the 40 different hats. You know what I mean? He's the operations manager. He's the CEO. He's the guy that does the marketing. Now he's slowly starting to put people in place to handle different parts of the job. And that's where you really need to get to and focus so that you can get to that point. That way you have the freedom. Now it's going to cost you money, but at least you'll have the freedom to live wherever you want, travel whenever you want, and not stress about everything all the time.
I know. Yeah, I think that there's a line. I talk about this on the show all the time. Like, I got to learn that. Like, I literally have to learn how to disassociate myself. I hired a COO. Like, I'm putting the people in place, but I'm still like responding to messages on Instagram, even though I have a social media person now. And like, I'm still out there. I feel like I have to be, because I want to be, in a way. I want to be able to be accessible to people and stuff like that. I think that's the part where I have to like separate myself. But you know what? Enough about me. I want to talk about your first investment property. Like, what got you actually into investing? What got you into the mindset? Like, did you learn investing from your family? Like, how did it come about?
Yeah, nobody in my family was really an investor prior to me starting to invest. At this point, I've been able to onboard my parents into my portfolio of long-term rentals, which has been amazing. They've been using it to supplement their retirement income and pay for their medical expenses, like their insurance, since they retired a couple years early, so they have to cover their large insurance premiums. But we first started by flipping a property, my parents and I. It took me like 3 years to convince them to do this with me. But I knew in the back of my mind we'd be successful with it, because my parents are both very handy. We watched all the HGTV shows and we were like, we can definitely do that. I was excited because I was like, oh, I can make like an extra 40, 50K a year by flipping 1 or 2 properties. Like, this is great. So we flipped a property, and I quickly realized after that I was not interested in doing flips full time, because we were doing all the work ourselves. So I was spending every single weekend and nights over at the property working. So after that, I realized I wanted to be a buy and hold investor. So when we sold the property, I made around $30,000 and took that money. And I'm in Iowa, remember, so I can buy properties for literally dirt cheap here. So like, I bought my first triplex for $78,000.
Oh, get out of here.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I used the $30,000 to put a down payment on this triplex. I did a BRRRR. I pulled all my money out of it pretty much, turned around and bought a quadplex right away from the same seller, actually. And so I had 7 doors within like 2 or 3 months, and those properties cash flowed very well. So from there, my parents were like, wait a minute, like, you're making all this money from these rental properties. Like, how about we partner on a few deals? So at that point, that's when that partnership began.
How does that partnership look? I'm curious about how you guys structured it, because they're family members too.
Yes. And not everybody can work with their family members. I've found out, like, my parents and I work very well together. But it's a 50-50 split. We put 50% of we both put 50% of everything into the property. I do all the property management, communicating with the tenants, onboarding. Like, they're not very tech savvy, so they don't handle any of that, but they're physically in the town that we invest in. So they are kind of like the boots on the ground. If stuff needs fixed, or, if we're renovating a property, they're the ones doing that. And I'm more of like behind the scenes with the lenders, insurance, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how that partnership looks.
Did you guys have to structure like actual roles from the beginning, or was it something that you guys figured out along the way?
No, we didn't do the formal structure right away, which I don't know that I would necessarily recommend to everyone, but it works out fine for us. I think we all realize like that's just our role in the business and everybody's okay with that. My parents love being like the boots on the ground and doing the work. My mom likes to say that she's never lived in a move-in ready house. We've always lived in houses that need a lot of work. And so they love like fixing things up and making them look nice, like that instant gratification of like painting a wall and it looks so much better. They love that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I always think I lost my dad in 2017, and if he was still alive, I'd probably be investing with him. I would have convinced him. That was always like kind of like my dream, like working with family like that. I know Rafa works with his brothers, and sometimes he wants to kill them. But I think if I worked with my brothers, I'd feel the same way. But I think with parents, that's such a cool thing, and I'm envious of you on that end, because I think that I was super close to my mom and my dad both. And my dad was kind of always wanting to invest in stuff and never really had that that mindset to do it. Well, he did, but he let a lot of his properties go. And you guys probably know the story about my parents that were, had properties and they let them go and all that stuff. But I think, being able to help your family and then also help yourself in a way, it's such a blessing in a lot of ways. So kudos to you for making it work and obviously allowing your family to invest with you and obviously have the financial backing to pay for their Social Security or their insurance and all that stuff. That's really awesome. I bet you that feels good, I would assume.
Yeah, it does feel really good. My mom and I talk a lot about how we love that we get to work together. It's so fun. She's literally my best friend. But my dad, on the other hand, my dad is not, he has come around, but he was not originally of an investor mindset. He doesn't like spending money, doesn't like investing money in things that are risky. They've always just put their money kind of in the stock market. So every deal that we've done, he's thought that we were going to lose money on. We've literally never lost money. All of our deals have pretty much been home runs. But I think it's easier for him to be negative about it because then if he's right, it's good. But if he's wrong, I don't know the thought process behind it. But we've proven him wrong every time, which is great. But they actually did own one rental property when they were first married. So it's similar to your parents, Jesse, but they sold it. And I'm like, why were you guys not investing 30 years ago? At this point, if you would have kept all your that property or more, think where you could be now.
Yeah. The problem is people think of right now, they're not forward thinking. And that's the biggest issue. And I think a lot of people too, especially the younger people. And you're pretty young, I assume, right? Do you mind if I ask how old you are on this podcast?
I'm 31.
31. Okay. That's young. I feel that's young. So 31 to have 33 doors? 36. My bad. Sorry. I know.
Get it right.
Come on,
get it right, dude. 31 to have 36 doors, that's freaking amazing. And I think that you have to adapt that mindset super early on. I guess you don't have to adapt it early on, but you got to make moves and take action. And I feel like people that I'm seeing this more and more. Rafa and I are talking to, we meet a lot of people, and how many 20-year-olds do we see that are just dude, making stuff happen, or people that I didn't even start investing till I was 35, 36. You know what I mean? If I would have started at your age, shit, I would be probably 5X where I'm at now. I just didn't have that mindset. It literally took 35 years for me to have that pivotal moment. So I think it's super cool when I see people now that are just taking action, not being idiots like me in my 20s, and, buying dumb shit. That was me in my early 20s, buying new cars and, living paycheck to paycheck. And I was making good money, but I was just living past my means. And I don't even know why, for what reason, to be honest with you. It was just I just wanted that stuff. And now I don't have that same concept. But it's cool to see people that adapt and to do that at 31 to have 36 doors. I mean, when you're my age, Amelia, I'm acting like I'm so old right now. I'm 9 years older than you. But when you get my age, you're going to have literally fucking 200 doors. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I hope so. And I hope at that point I don't manage any of them and I literally do nothing and I can just enjoy all that time.
You will. Economies of scale. The more properties you add, the lesser work you're going to do. Believe me.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, so you're working with your family. So what are you doing now? I know we talked about midterm rentals and stuff. What does your portfolio look like, and what are you doing? What kind of deals are you analyzing? Are you still buying in the Midwest? What are you looking at? What's your buy box typically look like?
Yeah, so there's a lot of questions there, but my buy box, I really am only looking to invest mostly in Iowa. I don't think that I need to go anywhere else because I can be successful here. So why go somewhere where it would just, I'd have to build a new team. I'd have to do that whole thing again. So I'm really only looking for properties that are like bare minimum 5 doors. So 5 doors up to 20 doors is kind of like apartment buildings is what I'm looking for right now. I have 8 or 9 midterm rentals, 1 short-term rental, and then the other 20 or 25, however many that is, are all long-term rentals. But I want to convert more of my units into midterm rentals as my tenants move out. So that's kind of my plan right now. And then I also have the WIIRE community, which stands for Women Invest in Real Estate. And I spend a lot of time on that. So we have a podcast, we host retreats, we have online meetup, all sorts of stuff. So I would say like 50% of my working time is spent on WIIRE.
Do you feel like there's not enough women in real estate?
Totally. I totally feel like there's not enough women. Like with anything that's like finance or anything like that, there's way more men. And the WIIRE community is a lot of women that are my age. So it's, I think like 25 to like 40 is the type of women we target. There's a few other communities for women investors out there, but I feel like they target kind of older women or more established women. So this is for kind of like the younger crowd, which I love.
So if I was a woman, I wouldn't be able to be in the club. So that's cool.
No, you're 40, right?
Oh, that's a cutoff. So Rafa, you hear that? There's a cutoff of the WIIRE community. If you're over 40, you can't get in there.
Oh, man.
No, it's actually funny because at our last retreat, the youngest person was 21 and the oldest person that attended was 52. So we have a wide range. I think the average age of attendees was like 33, but there's a wide range of people in the group.
Can we talk about your group for a bit? I'm glad you brought it up because I was going to ask about it. But like, let's go into detail for it. I want our listeners to know what it's about because we do have a lot of female listeners, and I want them to be able to know that there's other groups out there for investing that's not really overpowered by a bunch of dudes. So, I want you to go into the details, what it is, like what you guys do, all that fun stuff.
So it started like many things, like you said, Jesse, it started like in that 2020 to like 2022 gap where we were like missing those human connections. So my co-founder, Grace, and I started a free meetup for women, and we had such great success. It was a virtual meetup. We would bring in monthly speakers on different topics who were all women, and we had such great success with it. We were like, screw it. Let's start like an in-person retreat of 20 women who can come and talk for the whole weekend just about real estate investing. Like I feel like it's a different perspective being a woman investor versus a man. And so the retreats, we did 3 in 2022. They all sold out. They've been amazing. We started a podcast. We still have the monthly meetup. Like I said, we really focus on being authentic and showing the ups and downs in real estate, and that you don't need to be super rich to get started. You just need to be an action taker that is willing to make moves. Like you guys said, like it's all about taking action. There's so many people that say they want to be an investor, but then they never do anything to move themselves along. So yeah, that's the WIIRE community.
So let me ask you this really quick then. When you say they don't do anything to move themselves along, how do you guys show support for women to be able to get to that level? Because it's really intimidating. Like they don't know how to underwrite deals. They don't know how to look at deals. They have no idea how to look for deals, what markets, like literally I'm talking about like the smallest detail of how to get started. How do you guys help people do that?
Yeah, so a couple of different ways. I would say like the lowest tier is our free Facebook group where it's women only, so they can be in there asking questions. There's so many helpful women in the group who are willing to answer those very like beginner questions. How do I get started? Well, all of that. Can you look at this deal analysis for me? Does it make sense? Then we also, like I said, host those free monthly meetups. So all sorts of different topics on those, and they can ask Q&As. And then we also have hosted a couple different like in-person workshops. They're like either 4-week long or a week long or whatever, where we really break down, okay, here's from start to finish how you get started investing. So there's just a couple different options, but I would say that most helpful is probably our free Facebook group.
Yeah. I was going to ask the same thing, like, because a lot of people get stuck and it's just like, how do you get them out of that mindset of being stuck? Because I have that. Rafa deals with that on a regular basis too. And it's like, you got to be around community. Like I talk about this so much, is that community, whatever you're involved in, if you're around people that are thinking the same way, that are literally starting at the same point, I always talk to people about like, if you want to do something, literally go find the person that's doing it, learn how they do it, like learn the steps and the processes, and then just implement the same thing. Like literally, that's anybody listening right now that wants to be successful in anything, literally just go do that. Whether you're at a job, it's a sales job, you're just taking into it, and you see a top sales rep, like literally become friends with that guy or girl or woman or whatever, whatnot, and learn about what they're doing, how they're operating, what their process is, and literally just implement the same processes. And I think a lot of times that it's simple, Amelia, right? Like it's not complicated. Like it's not rocket science.
That's what I tell people all the time. Like, investing in real estate is not rocket science, but it is hard work. I like to get started. Like, you don't have to be super smart to invest in real estate, just to be frank. Like, you just really don't. But you have to be an action taker. And I don't know how to like help people get over that hurdle other than just like, you got to trust in yourself. And I always think in worst case scenario, like what's the absolute worst case scenario that could happen? Say you buy your first property and it's a total flop. Like, how much money are you actually going to lose? Like, how far is this really going to set you back in life versus how great it could be if it's successful. So you kind of have to think in terms of that versus, worrying about everything that could happen.
I like that perspective a lot because again, it's that fear factor that people have. They don't understand that you got to go in there and give it a shot. And if you fail at it, at least you learn a lot so that the next time you try it again, you have a better understanding of it, right? It's not try it one time, fail, and then give up and go back. You know what I mean? And like Jesse said, like everybody listening, the best advice Jesse's ever given on this podcast was literally right now was find someone, JK buddy, it was literally find someone who's done it already and literally mimic and copy what they're doing. I mean, if they're successful and you're doing what they're doing, there's no reason why you cannot fail. You know what I mean? And so being around community, right? Being around the right people, right? I mean, I'm assuming that's why you started WIIRE, right, Amelia? So you can be around those people and be around that community?
That's exactly why. We felt like there wasn't a community out there already that we really fit in. So we were just like, let's start our own, which was also scary but we're action takers. We're like, what's the worst case scenario? Nobody shows up. Like, okay, if that's fine, we'll have our own little party together. So yeah, I truly believe. I think it's a great idea to just tag along with somebody who's doing what you want to do. That's great advice, Jesse.
Yeah, I know it's the best thing I've ever said on here, Rafa said. So
I'm
glad the listeners got a chance to hear that and you pointed it out. One of the other things too is, and I'm a victim of this. There's so much self-doubt in people when it comes to like literally anything, like, my hair's a mess. Like people are going to look at my hair and we talk negatively about ourselves. And I think being part of a community where I can literally say something out loud, and this just happened to me. Sarah WIIRE, actually, I was talking to Sarah not that long ago and I was like, man, this summit that we're putting on, I'm like really nervous about it. I have to sell 300 tickets. I'm scared, yada, yada. And she's just like, dude, why are you doubting yourself? Like, why are you limiting yourself in your mindset? Rafa does this to me all the time too. And when you have people that are around you, especially if there's a community that is, and I'm talking about Rafa talks me, gets me out of my head not like Rafa's a self-doubter.
I get him out of his own head, but I do want to say you do need a haircut.
I'm growing my hair out, dude. So yeah, I mean, he just ruined my entire thought process. It was so good right now, Amelia. Now just Rafa.
So sorry, David. It was good. Let's go back to it. No, you're talking about self-doubt and your limited mindset.
Yeah. So I think that people that see folks that are successful or they think that are successful, that they are just like at the top of their game all the time. That is so far from the truth. It's like, even people that have, 200, I bet Grant Cardone wakes up in the morning sometimes just like, shit, Grant, give me a call if that happens, man. I want to talk to you about it. But anyway, like there's people that are successful that still have that mindset of like, self-doubt or I'm not good enough or this is, whatever and whatnot. And I think that being around people that can lift you up is so important. And whether that's your family, whether that's your brothers, cousins, uncles, whatever it is. And sometimes, in fact, most of the time, it's people that aren't even related to you that are in a community. That see you for a different light. And I think that that's so important to be a part of a community. So I'm glad. So kudos to you for putting things together for women. I am a father. Obviously, I have a daughter. And I always push her to be in groups like this and to be a part of other women that are trying to do things and to be empowered by women in this specific market. Especially, I feel like it's so crazy. Like we're still living in an age where you think it would be a different mindset, like equal pay and all this other stuff. And we're like, it's not. In reality, it's not. And I think that women getting into anything could be a lot more difficult than a dude getting into it, like for real at the end of the day. And I hope that someday it becomes like more of an equal playing field. And I think we're getting there. It's slowly but surely. When you think after, hundreds of years that we'd be to that space. And it's just, I'm glad that you're doing this and you're empowering other people is what I'm trying to say.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. It feels good for a guy to recognize that there still is like that inequality between men and women. And if you think that as a guy, you doubt yourself in the real estate investing world, I can tell you as a woman, like we definitely doubt ourselves a lot because there just aren't as many of us. And think about all the people you work with as an investor. You work with contractors. They're mostly men. You work even lenders and they're mostly men. So yeah, it really is important to find a community that you can bounce ideas off of and just have that support.
The smartest people I've ever met in my entire life were women. The most powerful women I've ever met, or most powerful people I've ever met in my life are women. So like for me, like, I guess I'm a mama's boy right now. This is me, mama's boy talking, but literally the most powerful people I've ever met and the most impactful people are women, literally. So for me, I'm such a champion for that. And I hope that eventually we get to a point, but yeah, I mean, you're right. It's unequal. And I've argued with people about this, in a lot of ways, it's like a man's world. It really, truly is. And I eventually hope that this is not that way. It gets out of that. It's an awful way to be as a society, especially like I said, I have a daughter and like, I don't want to have to deal with that kind of crap or not get equal pay. And I don't mean to make this like a political show right now, but it's super freaking unfair. You know what I mean? It's unfair in a lot of different ways is what I'm trying to say. So I sound like a feminist and I am a feminist. Look at this.
I love it.
No, you're right, man. It's true. I mean, you see it in every aspect of business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The men are the ones that power everything. So when you see a strong, like really intelligent, powerful woman, you're like, hell yeah. You know what I mean? Because it's true. I do same thing that you said. I know a lot of women who are like extremely intelligent, extremely smart. And like, I look up to them. You know what I mean? It's like, hell yeah, that's badass. So I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see where you guys' group goes, Amelia, and what you guys do. So let me, how many people do you guys have in your group right now? And like, how does that look?
I think there's a couple thousand in the Facebook group, and then each one of our retreats are around 20 women, and we always sell out within like a couple weeks of announcing them because they're just really small and intimate. I mean, but they're amazing, and every woman that's come to one of the retreats, I feel like is now one of my like in-person friends. So anytime I'm in a city with one of them, I'm like, I could totally stay with you or call you up or whatever. So it's cool to have a network all across the US. And even, I mean, people have come from the UK. So that's really cool too.
Wow. Very cool. You guys are international.
Yeah. I think it's awesome when you get somebody that goes in from anywhere, like has to get in a car and drive to where you're at. It's like, holy crap, you came here. Like, I think that's awesome that somebody's putting in that kind of effort because it's a pain in the ass to go from one place to another, even if you're just driving for a couple hours. I've been trying to get Rafa to come out north, and this guy can't do that. He'll fly across the U.S. to go do other things, but he can't even hang out with me. So
don't listen to this guy. I've driven up north so many times for these guys' meetups just to show support. It's not even funny. I've probably been up there more times than anywhere else. Amelia, in WIIRE, is it strictly it's real estate based, right? Is there a lot of like mindset stuff that you guys do as well, or is it just strictly you show up and you learn how to underwrite deals and how to buy properties and stuff like that?
There isn't a ton of mindset stuff right now. I am kind of an anti-foo-foo person, like an anti-woo-woo. I get that it's so like important, but I'm more of like a doer. I'm just like the cold hard facts. Like, here's how you do it. Like, you choose to do it or not do it. I don't know. So yeah, I know mindset's super important. I'm not the person to teach mindset because I'm not that person.
Yeah, I was going to argue with you on this for a second. So if you want to argue about it, like or debate about it, let's get into it.
About woo woo.
Yeah, well, I think you have a mindset already, and you're now I sound like you're discrediting your mindset already. Like you're so like straightforward. Like I need to get stuff done. I think Rafa's like that too. It's almost like it's burned into you, where it's like, do you expect everybody else to have that
resilience that you already have that you're expecting everybody else to have already?
Do you have that?
Yes. And problem solving, like that just comes naturally to me. And I'm like, some people, you give them an issue and there's no way they're going to know how to overcome it. But I'm just saying, I'm not the person to like talk about mindset and like really hype you up because I'm like, I don't know. I just do it. I don't know how to help you do it.
Yeah. I think there is like people that have that way with words where they're able to just to kind of like simplify things. But there are people like that where it's just like almost like you're hardwired to Like Rafa is a perfect example of that. Like this guy can just like formulate stuff in his head like an engineer and be like, dude, you should have been doing blah, 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 blah. And he already expects me to know how to do this. And I'm just like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, I've never done this before. How the flip do you expect me to do it? So it's almost like that, the expectations of anybody at any point, I feel like if you have those, somebody will always let you down. You know what I mean?
It's so funny that you say that, because the other day me and Jesse were, because I asked him a question. He's like, see, if it was you, it would have been this. And I was like, you're right. I should have known better. Sorry I asked. Because it's true. Like, I do have that thing. I was like, yo, like, come on, it's not that difficult. Here you go. This is what it is. Figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and you know what it was, Amelia? Let me get into this real quick, so the audience can get. It was the link to this podcast. He's like, "Why don't you just save it, dude?" He's like, "Why don't you just save it?" And I'm like, "How the hell do I save this on a phone? Like, how do I save a link to a phone?" Like, this guy's like, "I don't know how to save. I'm 40. Come on, guys."
Someone who's really good at mindset, is Sarah Weaver. And just like you said, when she was like hyping you up earlier about like your summit, she's so good at that mindset stuff. And I'm not. So if you want to be pumped up and have, do the mindset thing, talk to Sarah, go to her Instagram.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's certain people that have like this kind of like gravitas, like how to explain it in layman's terms or whatever that word is. But yeah, you have to have it. Like Aaron West is another guy, Rafa. We had him on pretty early on. That guy has a super good mindset, like money philosophy kind of thing. But yeah, I totally agree with you on that. You guys are just hardwired to be like, I just do it. Like, I don't know how to simplify it. I just do it.
Oh, sorry to interrupt, but I meant to say this earlier when you were like talking about how you get so overwhelmed and you're not good at like delegating and hiring people. I'm the same way because I don't want to spend the time explaining it to somebody else how to do it. I'm just like, I can kind of just do it myself way faster. So that's been hard scaling, is like, no, write it down how you do it and explain it to somebody else. But I just don't have the patience for that. So that's something I'm working on.
Yeah, Rafa's a king at that. Like, this guy looms everything. He has like process. If there's a problem, like he'll literally go back, like, how do we fix this problem? What's the problem solving? I started getting that way too. Like with my team, I'm just like, if there's a problem anymore, don't come to me with the problem. Come with me how you fixed it. Like, please.
Well, what? I'm rubbing off on you. All right.
I know, dude. Yeah, I did that. My team's like this. If you guys are watching this, you can see what I'm doing right now. They're just like, where did this guy come from?
Yeah, dude. Dude, it's funny, Amelia, when I met Jesse in the beginning, he was totally like, I don't want to say control freak, but it was like he wanted everything done. Like, this is how you got to do it. I want it like this, like this. And I'm like, bro, let them figure it out. They got to figure out what it is that they got to solve for you. Otherwise, they're not going to grow or learn, right? That's a big deal. Delegation's a big deal.
Yeah, I agree. And that's how you like really got to grow. And I think that's super important to, I talk about this before, like as I'm learning all these things together, I'm not an expert at that, but like I need to only do things that I'm uniquely qualified to do. Everything else has to be delegated. And I'm learning this process over the last couple of years to like delegate and pass things off. And, I hired a COO that I'm paying a lot of money to help me do that stuff because I'm more of an innovator, or more of a visionary. And Des is an innovator, so she puts all these things together and makes things happen. And it's just like, I'm watching the business like literally just grow so much by hiring a COO. So eventually, Amelia, you're going to have to get a COO in there just to do all the stuff that you don't want to have to do.
For sure. That will be my first hire. Like, I have people on my team that do things, but like big hire will be a COO because I hate that aspect of the business.
Yeah, it's the tedious stuff. So what's next, like for you in your investing career? Like, I know we talked about midterm rentals, and I kind of want to dive into this for a second. Like, what do your midterm rentals look like? Because I feel like everybody kind of has their own. Just like with real estate, there's so many different aspects to real estate. Like literally, there's so many. And there's like niches, and I hate that word niches, by the way, you guys. There's so many different places to go. So like, what do your typical midterm rentals look like? Are you able to do those in the Midwest? Like, what is that? Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So my midterm rentals, most of them are in Des Moines, which is the capital city. And most of them are in an 11-unit apartment building that I own that's like 2 miles from 5 regional hospitals. So they're perfect for midterm rentals. And Jesse, I know you focus more on like the insurance claims side, but I'm like strictly on travel nurses just because I'm so close to those hospitals. So I utilize Furnish Finder a lot. They're all studio units. They're not luxury, but they're cute and comfy. And I'm able to outprice my competition in the area just because I have so many in one location versus like if I had a single family home, I wouldn't have as many sources of income coming in. So I'm really stuck on, okay, this is the price I have to get for this property, where I can be way more flexible and price just slightly lower than the competition in the area and keep my units full like 24/7. I also have a couple midterm rentals in a very small town, which is crazy that they can be successful there. But small towns have a really hard time finding qualified RNs and CNAs, etc. So they have to hire travelers to come work, and those travelers need a place to stay. So if you're in a smaller community that has a hospital, chances are there's travelers working there, and there's a need for midterm rentals in that market. So yeah, I mean, mine are budget midterm rentals, but they've been highly successful, and I would love to keep buying and converting more of my units in Des Moines to midterm rentals.
Yeah,
And that's
awesome.
my spiel on MTRs.
So how do you determine if a market's good for mid? Like, what's your thought process behind that? Or is it the hospitals? Like, what's your kind of breakdown on that?
Yeah, for me, it's mainly the hospitals just because I am targeting the traveling nurses. But I really think that most markets can be successful with MTRs. Like, I think any market can be successful with like rentals in general, just because everybody needs somewhere to live. That's why when people say they can't find a market to invest in, I'm just like, that's you just don't want to invest that bad, because there's lots of markets out there. But mainly hospitals. That's my biggest thing for midterm rentals.
You know, one of the things about what people are like analysis paralysis, because they expect to buy something and then get like 3x the long-term rate rent, and like, you know, it doesn't always work that way. So me talking about that right now, like, what's your midterm rentals? Like, what's the long-term rent on one side, and what's your midterm rent look like? So what's the two difference there?
I love talking about that. So the studio units in my 11 unit apartment, the long-term rent is around $700, which includes all utilities because it's an older building. So everything's on 1 meter. So $700 flat. For a midterm rental, I charge $1,300. So it's almost double. All utilities are included, but they were included with long-term rental. So I don't really have to factor that in too much. So it's like literally 2xing my long-term rent. And I just don't think that many people want to live in like a 350 square foot apartment full, like long term. But for MTR, it's perfect because they're usually only there for 3 or 4 days. And then they go home for 3 or 4 days when they're off, because most of my midterm tenants are within 2 hours driving distance. They're just taking those 60 miles, 120 mile contracts because they make literally 3 times more than if they stayed in their town. So they'll come for 3 or 4 days work and then go home.
Yeah. I was actually talking to some travel nurses, and in the Midwest, they make like $27 an hour. Like an RN makes $27 to $33 an hour. You know what they make here in California? Just a travel nurse.
What?
Like $127. And then a full-time
Jeez.
nurse literally makes like 65 an hour, 60 an hour. And a full-time nurse in the Midwest makes like $25 an hour, $30 an hour. And I'm just sitting there thinking like, holy smokes. That's why a lot of these travel nurses from the Midwest will go take these jobs, just like you're saying. They have to be within a 60-mile radius in order to get a travel contract. So I don't know if you knew that or not. You probably already did. So these agencies will hire these people to go out and do the contracting. And just a quick tip too for everybody listening to this right now. One of the really good ways to find out, like, you're doing things directly through Furnish Finder, which is awesome. Do you touch any of the unmatched leads at all?
All of them.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah. A lot of people don't. And I'm like, why? Like, you got
You want to talk about that for a sec?
Yeah, so there's 3 different types of leads that come through on Furnish Finder. There's the booking requests, there's the housing requests, and then there's the unmatched leads. And I reach out to all 3 of those that come in. Furnish Finder is a good software to bring you leads, but that's about all it's good for. You really have to be reaching out after that. And I take people off platform, off Furnish Finder as quickly as possible, because I find their messaging software is pretty clunky. And so messages can either get lost or not sent or whatever. So I don't want to risk that happening. So I take them off. But Unmatched leads, to answer that question, are basically any criteria that maybe doesn't match your listing exactly will go into the unmatched lead. So that could be something as simple as maybe you don't have it clicked private bath or something. So it'll filter them into unmatched leads when really your property might qualify, or they might be willing at your price point to forego whatever that unmatched criteria is. So it's super important that you're reaching out to all leads that come in.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And to take that a step further, what I do is I'll ask what agency you're working with, who's your recruiter, and those two things right there. If you start actually like going after the recruiters and you actually connect on a business level with those agencies, that can help you not even have to deal with Furnish Finder anymore. And Furnish Finder, I love Furnish Finder. They're our sponsor and stuff like that, which I love a lot. But again, they're a lead generation tool. They're not. You can't book direct. They do have KeyCheck, which is part of them, where you can actually send payments and stuff through, which is great. But it's not a booking platform. It's not Airbnb. It's not VRBO. They're just there to give you leads to match a traveler with a landlord. It's literally what they do. And then they have KeyCheck in the middle that can supply the payment from one to the other. So that's the good thing. But in order to build a business, I think that for me personally, what I've been able to do is to build on the contractual side, is like building the relationships with the recruiters, the agencies, and being able to set things forward on that end. And you get typically higher rate rents. You get, you build a business relationship with these companies, and they're supplying you with these clients, and you don't have to rely on online travel agencies or anything. So that's something for everybody to think about. And again, midterm rentals are they're still new. Like there's really not any software out there for these. It's so it's the wild, wild west. It's Airbnb of 2007. There's just nothing out there at all.
Yeah, no, there is. It's so new. I think the concept has been around for a long time. They used to be called corporate housing, whatever, but it's really becoming commercialized recently. Like people are talking about it a lot. So I think we'll see a lot more softwares and stuff for midterm rentals specifically in the next couple of years.
There's so many different ways for midterm rentals. It's funny. The biggest ones that everybody ever talks about is nurses and insurance agencies. I get them all the time, and they're not nurses or insurance agencies. I get corporate companies who book I have a year lease on one that started at a 3-month, right? Pay me a ton of money for a 2-bedroom apartment. I get restaurants. I get chefs. You know what I mean? I get contractors. There's so many. Maybe I should just start talking about that as well too, because there's so many different things other than, right, Jesse, and everybody, every time we talk about it, everybody talks about just nurses and insurance agencies, because they're the most popular ones that are the hot thing right now. And people will focus on building relationships with either converting leads even from Airbnb. I've gotten so many good leads from Airbnb. One that I picked up a couple of years ago that's they're with me every year without fail is the Antarctica Food Project, right? They come down and they'll stay with me for 4 months at a time, rent out an entire block on one of my buildings, and they pay me up front, guaranteed check, no issues. And it came from a lead that I converted. And so I think people need to realize that it's not just midterm rentals is not travel nurses, right? It's not Furnish Finder. It's not insurance agencies. It's not ALE Solutions. There's hundreds of different people out there that need a place to stay. If people actually looked for demolition companies, that's probably one of the best things that they can do, because demolition companies will book places for 6 months at a time, right? Mm-hmm. They'll book 6 months at a time when they're out demolishing a, 1940s 300 floor building. They need somewhere to stay during that time, and they'll rent out. Some of these guys are renting out full Motel 6s at one time. Imagine you were the provider for that place, right? Yeah. I'm like, dude, and we see it all the time. What was it, Jesse? Remember, maybe a year ago, our friend Eris was trying to find a place for her. She works for a construction company. She's my bookkeeper. And she also works for a construction company on the side. I guess on the side job, right? She actually works for the company. But anyway, they were looking for, she's like, hey, dude, reach out to your network. I need seven houses in San Diego. And we couldn't find anybody. So she ended up renting an entire hotel block for, I think it was 6 months. And I was like, dude, you know how much money somebody can make? And they were paying 3x what the hotel was doing.
Yeah, I house lots of traveling contractors or wind turbine technicians, solar panel technicians. That's huge in Iowa. And so I've housed all of those people. Oh, this is really close to the A-League. I don't even know. It's like the minor league baseball. It's like a farm team for the Chicago Cubs in Des Moines. And they have players that come in just for the summer. And so they need places to house those players, obviously for 6 months or however long. So they are on Furnish Finder looking for people to, places for them to stay. So there's all sorts of people using MTR right now.
Yeah. We've all got these bookings before, and like we'll get them. And this is what I was trying to explain to Rafa, and Rafa like has the same people that come through, and explain to everybody is that we get these bookings that'll come on Airbnb where we get this 6-month company that reaches out to you, and you're just like, awesome, I got a 6-month booking for freaking my entire month. And then that 6 months is gone, and you're just like, and then you're like, oh, I wish I can get, it's almost like you forget about it because Airbnb is like, you're always trying to get those next bookings, right? But if you're super intentional about just reaching out to that agency, talking to the person, the specialist that you were talking to, and nurturing that relationship, and you become very aware of what the kind of clients you want to get, you can attract those clients. And you have to be very like, again, it just takes work. Nothing in real estate is passive, right? We talked about this earlier, Amelia. You said it's a lot of work. This is the same thing, but if you're able to 3x or 4x or even 5x what you're getting from long-term rent, like, dude, I would do that all day long. Like, I would do that all day long, which I am. You know what? In the next year, I probably won't even have any more short-term rentals. Like, I probably won't. Maybe I might have one, but
Lies.
What about that big bougie house, that tree house that you bought? Isn't that short term?
I just rented it for $10,000 for 6 months, $10,000 a month.
To who?
A dude from Venezuela who's down working for Gallo Winery, which is this big winery company, and they get a $5,000 stipend. So him and his buddy are renting it while they're doing. They're working with the winery here. So that place is going to be booked for up until August for $10,000. My mortgage, Amelia, is $4,000 a month.
Oh my gosh, was that an Airbnb lead, or how did they find you?
No, Furnish Finder. He reached out to me on Furnish Finder. I took him off the platform, and then talked to him. He actually connected me with the Gallo Winery. They have a specific person in the HR department that does acquisition for people coming in. They actually will find them property. So he connected me with them, and they're going to be, Gallo Winery is actually the one paying me to have them in the property. So it's two guys, each get a $5,000 monthly stipend. And starting February 2nd, they're going to be in. Here's a crazy thing right now. I want you guys, 4 of my properties right now that are rented midterm, guess how much those 4 properties are bringing in? Just random guess. A month. Like between
Net
all
or
4
gross?
of them. Just let's do gross for the purposes of this being fun.
22.
Okay, Rafa, go ahead.
54.
41,000 with 4 properties.
Wow. That's incredible. Let's quit telling people about the midterm rental. I'm just kidding.
No, there's enough for everybody. And the cool thing about this, you guys, is like, I think back in the day when we used to hear people talking about like, oh, I had 150 doors. In reality, like you can have 5-10 doors. And if you do things very intentional, you can make a shitload of money. And not only that, but you're like housing clinicians, you're helping your community. There's so many different things that are like, that are fruitful, not only in the financial side, but also like on the communal aspect, that you're housing people that lost their homes due to a fire or flood, or, again, the community aspect with a nurse coming in. And it's if you really are intentional about this stuff, like you can really make some cool things. So Amelia, I look forward to seeing you connect with the Cubs organization, creating a contract with them and saying, hey, anytime your players are here, like my properties are rented specifically for you. Here's how we're going to save you money. And you go and solve problems for that agency. And then boom, there you go.
I'll get us some free tickets.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I love short-term rentals because my business is set up to short-term rentals, and it's still literally less work as a midterm rental for me anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I have some great midterm rentals. I mean, Jesse knows I have a 2-bedroom apartment. That's an arbitrage apartment that I have, and I pay $2,200 a month for it. With utilities and all expenses included, I end up paying about $2,650, give or take. And this guy's paying me $67.50 a month for a year. So.
Yeah.
And that started as I think that was an Airbnb booking that became a corporate account.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. So, I mean, anybody out there right now that has an Airbnb property, put it up on Furnish Finder. Even if you're paying the $100 for the leads, like feel them out. Like put that energy into that. And you got to be fast, right, Amelia? You can't just like let a lead sit there. Like you got to be like on it.
The minute a lead comes in, I send a message. The instant it comes in, people don't because they're. One, if you're in a highly saturated market where there's a lot of competition, that's going to set you apart. But 2, like a lot of these travelers, and I'm talking traveling nurses specifically, they are getting their contract like a week before they need to move. So they need to find a place ASAP. So if you don't respond within one day, like they've already moved on and found something else.
One day, the first like 10 minutes, out of sight, out of mind, you guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You gotta stay on them. I take them. I'll get their number. Like, hey, do you mind sharing me your phone number? Here's my phone number. Reach out to me. I'll make that. I'll do a scarcity mindset. Like, hey, I'm connected with the network here. There's not very many properties available. Reach out to me. I'll talk to you about it and have them. They'll call me literally because sometimes you can't see their phone number if they're unmatched leads. So I'll talk to them about like, hey, like we want to help you. Let's connect. So yeah, midterm rentals are awesome. I hope you come out to San Diego in April to hang out with us. So get out of the woods out there and come to a beach here on the West Coast.
Come down. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, for sure. I think I plan on it. I just haven't bought my ticket yet. I'm kind of a procrastinator, but.
Well, if you procrastinate any longer, you're going to be paying like $400 more. So, Amelia.
But it goes to a good cause. It goes to you, right?
Yeah. Well, it goes to paying the bill. You know how much these things cost? Like I was telling Rafa, these events are freaking expensive as heck. I never would have thought it would have been this expensive, but I'm excited about it. It's not even about like making money. If we break even or I have to spend a little bit of money, it's just putting that community together and everybody being in one room at one time and learning from everything from arbitrage. Sully's going to be out there talking about private equity, private money. Sarah and Ziona are going to be talking about midterm strategies that they have. Rafa's going to talk about acquisition of arbitrage. So, and then Brian's going to be talking about Furnish Finder and the leads that are coming through on there and how to maneuver those. So it's just, there's so much opportunity for people to learn that don't have any idea. So I'm excited about it, but we're at the top of the hour. Rafa, do you want to go ahead and take this part?
Yeah, dang, that went by fast. I didn't realize how fast time was going. We're having a good conversation.
I know. I'm like, we barely scratched the surface.
I know. We ended up talking about a bunch of random things. This was pretty good. Yeah, no, so Amelia, being that this is the big break show, I got to ask you, what was your big break that got you from non-investor Amelia to new investor Amelia? Or just, is there something like a pivoting moment in your life where you're like, thanks to this one defining moment, I am where I am today?
I think it was the first flip that I ever did with my parents and seeing that be successful. And, $30,000 extra dollars for me was a lot at the time. And that really was huge. That got me thinking in more of an investor mindset. Okay, if I can make $30,000 on this one flip, the future is unlimited for me. So that really was the pivotal moment for me.
I love that you say that because it's always the one proof of concept for people that literally changes their mind. The moment you see that one proof, that one thing that you did that you're like, holy crap, I just got a fat check at one large sum, right? Or crap, I know now that it works. It instantly shifts something in people and now they just immediately start going at it full time. Mm-hmm. Happened to me. Cool. That's a good one. I appreciate that.
That's awesome. What is like a 20-plex cost in the Midwest like that? Like, if you're going to pick up a 20-plex, like what does that look like?
Yeah, so it's going to go for probably about $50,000 a unit, depending. So what's that? $2 million for 20 units, or is that $1 million? I don't know the math. It's anywhere between $1 million to $2 million for a 20-unit apartment. I bought my 11 unit for $500,000. So.
Wow.
Gosh, I want that, you guys.
Hey, Amelia, if you run across any hotels, shoot them my way. I'm buying hotels.
Actually, there is a motel that contracts a lot of contractors to stay there that's on the market right now that we are thinking about putting an offer on. But I'll send it over to you to look at.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Hey, send it to me first, okay? I don't want Rafa buying all my deals right now. I was the one that brought it up.
It's listed for two. Bro. No. It's listed for 2.1. They're willing to seller finance 20% down payment on it too. So it's a good deal.
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
We didn't even talk about seller finance. That's a whole other freaking amazing concept of real estate. Are any of your deals that you have out of those 36 seller finance?
A couple of them. I've seller financed a few triplexes. My favorite is like my favorite seller to buy from is like the old white dude that owns his property outright, because I can really schmooze those guys and get them to do seller financing. So I've done a couple on seller financing for those. Yeah. I ended up paying them off very quickly because it was a BRRRR process, but it was nice to not have to worry about the financing right off the bat.
Yeah, and not only that, but take the hit on your credit, and then also like you don't have that property kind of sitting on there. Yeah, I just did my first seller finance, and I'm just like, dude, I need to get more of these. Like, I need to find these. I need to do more of these. But yeah, I appreciate you for talking about that stuff. You have a good mixture of all your doors, kind of different stuff. Okay, so we're at the top of the hour right now. You've kind of said it all. What is one thing, an actionable step that somebody could take right now, Amelia, after just listening to the last 58 minutes of us talking to you? Like something somebody can do, like learning and applying. What can they do?
Okay, well, I think the biggest part of being an investor is understanding how to run the numbers. Real estate investing is literally a numbers game. We don't do it because we love buying properties. It's because we know how to run the numbers. So I would say go on YouTube, search the Foursquare method by Brandon Turner. If you have not watched this video yet and you want to invest, that should be your first step, is watching how to analyze a property very simply. It's super easy, but you need to get good at it if you want to invest.
Yeah, that's a quick actionable step that somebody can go watch. I love YouTube, man. You can learn, like, I learned how to play the piano on that thing. Like, I learned guitar songs. I learned how to fix the freaking microwave oven. Man, isn't it cool to be living right now, you guys, in this time where we can literally just freaking look something up and fucking watch a video on how to do it? Like, it's crazy.
This is crazy because I'm sure you both speak fluent Spanish. One of the communities that I invest in is starting to have a lot more Spanish speakers come to the area, and Google Translate is so amazing. I can talk to these tenants, and I'm one of the few landlords in the town who I think is even willing to go through that. But I can talk to them just like we're talking right now. Everything translates. I mean, it might not be perfect, but they can at least get the gist of it. And I'm like, what an amazing world we live in that I can communicate with you that way.
Yeah, that's very cool.
I know. You probably weren't. You probably were old enough. We used to have maps. Like whenever we were driving somewhere, like you have to like get a map that had like A3, and you had to like find it, and you had to like literally like. I talked to my kids about like, what the hell? You actually had a paper map? I'm like, yeah, dude. We had to like freaking paper map shit out, like and highlight where we were going. It's freaking crazy. And now we just have these digital technology just tells us where we're going, where to turn. Even though half the time it's not even freaking right. It has me going all over the damn place, especially Tesla, which is ridiculous. Rafa, you gonna take the car or what, dude?
We'll talk after the show.
No, let's do it on the air, man. Let's do it on the air. This guy's taking over my vehicle. He's gonna sell her financing.
Jesse's seller financing me his Tesla.
You guys need to go to couples therapy.
I know.
We get that all the time. Amelia, don't worry.
Find us a therapist, and we'll do it. I love how Rafa and I argue all the time. I think people think that like we hate each other, but it's just how we kind of like communicate.
We get messages all the time, Amelia, and they're like, "Why do you guys do a podcast together? It seems like you guys don't even like each other. You guys are always arguing." And I'm like, "Dude, we just joke around. It's fun."
No, I love that. Yeah, you're just kidding.
Yeah, we're kidding right now, but definitely find us a therapist. So there it is, folks. You heard it all. Amelia McGee in the middle of nowhere. She does not have guns all over her house, but she does have knives. And she's got 36 doors at the age of 31, and she's a good knife slinger, which means she could throw knives across the living room. So don't even think about it, folks. Amelia, it's been a pleasure having you here. I love the midterm stuff you're doing. I look forward to seeing you in San Diego. And those of you, where can folks find you at?
Yeah, so I'm most active on Instagram. My Instagram is Amelia Jo REI. So definitely connect with me on there.
Give the plug on your WIIRE.
Yeah, WIIRE community. Also, Instagram is WIIRE with 2 I's .community. And then our Facebook group, if you search, is just Women Invest in Real Estate. And we would love to have you if you're a female investor.
Very cool.
Awesome, Rafa. So you're not invited, buddy. Sorry. Unless you put a wig on.
It's
We
okay.
love the dudes too, but, we got to have something just for the ladies.
I hear you. No dudes allowed. No dudes allowed. Well, Amelia, it's been a pleasure. We appreciate you being here. Any parting words?
No, just thank you guys so much for having me, and I can't wait to see you in San Diego in April.
Yep. I will look forward to
Thanks
it.
for coming
Thank you,
on.
Amelia.